Well, it doesn't look like fracking is going to be coming to New York anytime soon. Chesapeake Energy has all but given up on drilling in the Empire State. They just walked away from a 2-year legal fight. Hollywood, of course, is partly to blame for all this. Why are all these Hollywood lefties with their socialist movies ignoring the facts by opposing fracking? Fracking would create a huge volume of jobs, new jobs, good-paying middle-class jobs in New York and California and elsewhere. And studies show it is not an environmental hazard. Anyway, an editorial in today's Investors Business Daily says that whatever their reason, they won't be stopping anytime soon. That's the Hollywood crowd. Joining me now is the author of that piece, Chuck DeVore, who's now Vice President for Policy at the Texas Public Policy Foundation. He is the author of The Texas Model, Prosperity in the Lone Star State, and Lessons for America. Chuck, I kind of have my eye on Matt Damon on this. Matt Damon and that goofy movie that he ran where the school teachers tried to stop everything. And you see that kind of crap coming out of Hollywood all the time. How do they get away with that?
Well, they get away with it because I think you have a confluence of powerful money and interests and the natural proclivity of Hollywood to be against free markets and to kind of tend toward a leftish environmentalism and kind of a socialism for everyone else except for them, of course. And in the case of Promised Land, the Matt Damon movie earlier this year that flopped, thankfully, I think a lot of people might be surprised to hear that it was mainly financed by Abu Dhabi,
right,
the United Arab Emirates,
right,
the leading nation in OPEC as far as natural gas exports.
Well, we're going to steal their bacon. We're going to steal their bacon. That's what's going to happen here. There's no question about that. And these Hollywood guys, instead of standing up for America, would rather stand up for Abu Dhabi. I mean, that's part of the ridiculousness of this whole story. The ridiculousness of this whole story. Let me ask you something else. In your piece, I didn't know this. Chesapeake Energy, okay, major fracker driller, okay, great company. They gave how much? $26 million to the Sierra Club to attack coal plants and God knows what else. Chesapeake Energy trying to blame and bribe the Sierra Club. Do people know this? That's incredible.
Yeah, that was a 4-year effort called Beyond Coal from about 2006 to 2010. And of course, when you shut down a coal plant, it's usually replaced by a natural gas-driven turbine power plant. So there's pretty much a one-for-one market share issue there. And so it probably made good business. Of course, the irony is once they were called on it and they stopped paying the Sierra Club immediately turned on Chesapeake and went after natural gas, too.
Well, sure. We've had Michael Brune on this show many times. He's a very smart, clever chap. I'm not surprised. Ahmed, let me ask you what you think about this. We just had another study from the Department of Energy saying fracking is clean. Fracking does not cause water problems. And New York is hidebound. Governor Cuomo, who's done some good things, but not this, he's afraid to buck Robert F. Kennedy Jr., he's afraid to buck Yoko Ono, he's afraid to help upstate New York, which has been in a depression in 50 years. Why?
Well, here's the thing. The truth is, as you pointed out, in Hollywood, their voices speak loud, and money speaks loud, too, whether it's coming from Image Nation, as you mentioned, in the Promised Land film or not. I think there's a lot, from my perspective, of controversy, a lot of speculation around fracking still. However, I think there's a lot of misinformation that's being put out there. For example, you know, these earthquakes and the tremors, some people are perhaps putting them out of proportion, saying that they're a lot worse than they actually are. In fact, in real life, it's just like drilling. But also, I think that you have issues around people who are trying to influence the way that America relies either on oil or gas from abroad.
But natural gas is clean.
But here's the thing.
It's the solution.
It's clean.
It'll make us energy independent.
But doesn't it depend geographically on where you do it? I mean, for example, in Qatar and in the United Arab Emirates, they have different technologies, and perhaps I could see how they don't want America to advance their innovative technologies in order to be more independent.
That's their problem. That should not be our problem.
Well, you know, it's the richest country in the world for a reason.
That should not be Matt Damon's problem. Jimmy McLaughlin, let me go to you on this. Hollywood just... Here's it. They're stopping it in New York. They're all stopping it in California. There's a lot of shale formations in California, which hasn't done any drilling in decades and decades. And they're hurting the blue-collar worker. This is a case where a bunch of rich actors and actresses are really hurting the middle-class blue-collar worker.
And it's terrible. And the first thing, by the way, I'd tell the fracking industry to do, to change what they call it, because fracking has been demonized. It's been demonized by the left, and it's been done very successfully. They should call it something like clean energy exploration. But the real reason, you're exactly right. Talk about who's hurting the middle class,
right,
who's hurting working America. Look what's going on in places like the Dakotas and Texas. They have virtually no unemployment. They can't fill the jobs.
Pennsylvania! Pennsylvania!
That's exactly right.
Ohio!
And
like, these are states near here. They're like us.
And the reason why Andrew Cuomo won't do it is because he's running for president, and he wants to get the support of the environmental groups. And that's exactly why he doesn't support it.
Here's the amazing thing, right? The environmentalist left says they're the party of science and that the free marketeers are anti-science. And it's so remarkably hypocritical in this particular case because there is no scientific evidence that fracking does anything to pollute the water supply.
That's the thing. Study after study.
And yet they're claiming that it does, and they're misrepresenting the scientific data. Even the EPA says there's no evidence.
Do you think Yoko Ono reads studies? You think she? I don't know. What does she read? The newspaper? What does she do?
Well,
I don't know.
I mean,
here's the opportunity, though, gentlemen. The opportunity is that somebody within the industry, within the petroleum industry, the natural gas industry, ought to get with the program and start engaging in culture. You know, culture influences politics more than politics influences politics. And where are the free market films celebrating this American success story of applying technology to revitalize America's oil and gas industry?
We're going to make one. Hang on. I want to ask you, Chuck, before we go. This new movie, which I'm calling Socialist 101, Elysium, I think it opens tonight. This is supposedly the worst of the worst. You've got a bunch of rich people, and then everyone else is getting screwed in this movie, and they're all going to be in revolution, and they want socialism. This is just another crazy Hollywood fantasy, I think, that probably no one will go to.
Well, in all likelihood, it probably won't be as heavily attended because Americans have a natural affinity toward the free market, and they don't appreciate it when well-paid Hollywood actors and actresses push socialism for the rest of us.
For the rest of us, because they're all rich and they make $50 million a year. Didn't Promised Land bomb also?
It did bomb. It only grossed half of the money that Abu Dhabi put into it.
What a pity. What a pity.
But a lot of people still saw it. I mean, that's the thing. When you put a lead character in it, you know what happens.
I mean, that's the point, right? A theatrical production, even a bomb, almost 1 million people saw it. You compare it to the two documentaries out there, Frack Nation, which looks at how the journalistic community has completely misrepresented fracking, and on the other hand, Gasland, which is the environmental left documentary. Those films brought in so far a fraction of the audience of Promised Land.
What is wrong with Matt Damon? Why can't he just do the Bourne thing, the Bourne Identity? They're pretty good. Spy flicks. What is wrong with him?
You know, conservatives...
Seriously, what is wrong with him? Chuck, I don't know. What is wrong with Matt Damon? The guy's... How can he not understand? Go ahead.
Well, the only thing I was going to say is, you know, I think fracking makes it possible to produce oil and gas in places where conventional technologies, as I understand it, don't work.
Right.
And so I think, for as much as we're quoting studies, the perception that I hear from people within, you know, the left, they say there's not enough technology, enough scientific evidence, even though you're quoting a lot of it, to really feel confident that there can't be problems down the line.
I know, but it's all going to be solved by windmills, right? Windmills on Nantucket are going to solve the whole thing.
That's the irony.